Florida Congressman Mike Haridopolos. Sir, good morning. Thank you for coming on. I would love to get your initial reaction to Senator Klobuchar's remarks right there.
Well, it's incredibly frustrating. We all know that we need to keep the government open. What happened in Minneapolis, clearly a tragedy, and we need to figure out a way to end the chaos in Minneapolis that was clearly being created by the governor and the mayor of those cities who are telling citizens to get in the way of arresting pedophiles, murderers, rapists, etc. If they would just do their part in this federal system where local law enforcement makes sure that crowd control is there, you take these bad people out of the city in which they say they want to protect, this problem goes away. But that said, in the initial issue where we're at Washington, D.C., we need to strike a deal to make sure that we keep the government open. We are on an economic roll right now. The last thing we need is Washington getting in the way.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about the shutdown in just a moment, but we also heard Klobuchar talking about there needs to be a change of leadership. But, you know, now we're hearing a lot of talks from actually both sides of the aisle talking about how the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem should be fired. I'm curious, what kind of job do you think that she's been doing so far?
Well, she's got a very challenging job, to say the least. You're talking about 10 million people coming into the country in 4 years. Thank goodness for President Trump. We proved that we don't need new laws to keep the border closed. What we now need to do is extract the people who not only came here illegally, but now broke the law once here. And everywhere else across the country, this has been done in an organized, thoughtful way. Local law enforcement works with ICE, get the bad guys off the street. Kristi Noem's doing her job. This is politics extraordinaire, but I am glad to see Homeland come in. It's a new face. Hopefully this will change the dynamics. And all we're asking the leadership in Minnesota to do is simply assist removing bad people, as opposed to what they want is chaos and politics, because they think it will help them in the next elections.
Yeah, it truly is. It seems that simple, helping them in an election. And you want these illegal criminals running on the streets. It's not making sense to me. But, sir, I do want to point to the New York Times now reporting that President Trump and Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, they're actually moving towards a possible agreement to negotiate new restrictions on federal immigration agents, potentially averting the shutdown. The Times saying, quote, under the emerging plan, according to two officials knowledgeable about it, the Senate would split off legislation funding the Department of Homeland Security from a 6-bill package of spending measures needed to keep the military, health programs, and other federal agencies funded for the remainder of the fiscal year. All right, what do you make of that? And do you think that this shutdown is going to be averted come midnight tomorrow?
Well, I'm a little skeptical right now at this point, only because of the realities of what the Democrats are playing with. What President Trump is, he is a pragmatic person. He knows that ICE is essential to take bad people off the streets. And if he has to, he might cut a deal with the Democrats to make sure that our government is operating and we continue our operations around the country, not just Minneapolis, to make this a reality. I think there should be an investigation of what happened in Minneapolis on both sides of the street, not just the shooting here, but the organized effort by professional protesters to clearly disrupt an entire city and stop bad men and women from being arrested who came here illegally. Remember, we literally had an open border for 4 years, and the chaos that ensued is the reason why Republicans are in power today. And all we're asking for is common sense. The president's trying to keep it that way, and if we need to do some adjustment, I'm okay with it. But remember, the House did its job. We put regular order. We put a budget deal in place in which we were able to find some bipartisan support. And as usual, the Democrats realize with the economic comeback happening, they need to create chaos to try to get the upper hand in the midterms.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate because a shutdown would certainly hurt TSA. It would hurt FEMA. But I want to give congratulations to your state of Florida. You know, the number 2 state with the highest ICE arrest. We don't hear about it because it's going so smoothly down there. Congressman Mike Haridopolos, sir, thank you for your time this morning.
Always great to see you, Alex. Have a great day.
You too.